Hi guys, welcome back. By now all of you know that good glass or a good scope on our rifle is very important, as not as important as the rifle itself to get that accuracy that we are really looking for. Now for those of you who are following my channel from the beginning, you know I was very keen and very happy with a very little scope. It calls the Vector Optics Veyron 3x12x44. Very budget friendly little scope with some very clear glass as well. I'm very hair lucky these days to own several different setups, but I don't have a scope for every setup, and switching scopes between setups is not an ideal situation. So with that little Veyron in my mind and its clear glass, I went back to Vector Optics to see if I could find another scope in their lineup to put on my other setups. So this time I have chosen for the Continental 3x18x50 first focal plane scope. As always, let's dive into the tabletop view so I can give you a clear view what's in the box and of course a good look at the scope itself. Right, so first let's take a closer look at the box. As you can see, nice box, very nice branding, and it even has such a small soft touch to it, really nice. You can see here Continental written on it, nice shiny letters. Continental 3x18x50 first focal plane scope. And on the other side we have some key features, like for instance the special kind of coating they use on the lenses, the zero stop 34mm tube, shockproof, 90% light transmission, which is pretty cool of course and pretty good, and the IPX6 waterproof rating. On this side of the box, I don't know if you can see on camera, we have the Vector Optics 3x18x50 first focal plane SCFF28 reticle. The Continental range has 4 scopes in it, and 3 of them use the reticle like I have in this one, and 1 uses a different reticle, but I'll put a picture up in the screen for you. Right, so let's open the box. And on the inside you're greeted with a nice big picture, and then underneath the protective foam on top we are greeted with all the goodies Vector Optics has put it in the box. Let's start with the small things and end up with the scope, of course. So first up, you get yourself a manual explaining various things in different languages about the scope itself. Also some information about weight, length, the different versions of it, and a little bit more of Vector Optics itself. You also get a small paper, it seems, with some words from Craig Bonington. Don't really know who this is, but it seemed like he was very impressed with the scope as well. Then you get yourself a nice sticker, as well as a Velcro patch to put on your shooting bag or something. Always nice, they include these kind of things. Then we'll move on to here. You get yourself a lens cloth that's housed in a little bag with a clip you can also put on your shooting bag to wipe your lenses if you might need to. Then you get yourself a spare turret cap. Actually, it's not really a spare turret cap, but it's a simplified version of the one that is already installed on the scope. But a little bit more on this later in the video. Something else you get in the box, and that many manufacturers forget, is a good set of Picatinny rings, or scope rings better said, to suit the scope you just bought. Not everybody has a spare kit of scope mounts lying in their closet, and sometimes they forget it and then they still have to go out and order them, and it's always good to get some rings from the manufacturer itself. Something very important, and that Vector Optics puts in every box, is their lifetime warranty card that belongs to the scope with the same serial number. No questions asked, they replace it for you, they reply to you in 1 working day, free repair replacement, fully transferable, no invoice or receipt needed, no questions asked, we ship it back and they pay for it. Always good, need to know that they have covered your back when you make an investment for a scope like this. Another small tool you get is this little tool by Vector Optics, and this is used to open up the turret cap, to replace it with the other turret cap or put it back to 0. And of course you can also do it with a coin, and you don't really need this, but it's always nice to see they add things like this to put into your shooting bag. Something else you get is a lucky coin chip I'm not gonna turn it around because on the back side there is a discount code that you get when you buy a scope from them. So on your next purchase you get a nice discount from them when you buy another scope. Something else you get is a nice sunshade when you're shooting out in some bright conditions, so you can block out the sun from your lenses. Pretty cool. They have added this. Some manufacturers charge extra for this. And then of course at the center of the box we have the Continental 3x18x50, very beautiful scope. And what you also get are these lens caps. These are transparent ones. I don't really use them, but it's always good to see they include them for people who might use it. So let me clean out the table and have a closer look at the scope itself. So let's first talk a little bit dimensions of the Continental 3x18x50. The overall length is 338 millimeters or 13.3 inches, and the weight itself is 720 grams on 25.4 oz. Starting at the back, we have a nice big eye bell with an eye relief of about 100 millimeters, which is very common for these scopes. At the back, you also have the diopter focus ring to adjust the focus level of the reticle inside to your eye if you don't have this perfect vision. The reticle inside is a very nice one with many holdovers and windage points for some fast corrections in the field. Moving forward, we have the zoom ring from 3 to 18, as the scope name itself mentions. It's a nice, firm, but still easily turnable focus ring, as you can see. And the reticle inside, as we mentioned, is a first focal plane that grows and shrinks together with that magnification ring, which means the first focal plane. The Continental range all have a 34mm tube, not allowing you for better light transmission, but also for a wider adjustment range on your turrets. At the front we have a 50mm lens, and the lenses inside have a special coating. I believe they call it the VE Pro FMC, if I'm not mistaken, coating that contributes to the 90% light transmission, which is pretty good. The whole scope is also nitrogen purged to remove any moisture inside and prevent any moisture or dust getting into your scope, which is always very important. At the center of the scope we can find the turret housing. Both the elevation and the windage turret have an adjustment range of about 44 mils and can be reset to 0 by undoing that little screw that you see here in the middle, lifting up the turret cap, rotating it to 0 and putting back that screw. Now that elevation turret also has some extra features like a hard 0 stop. So if you lift it up and you have adjusted your scope to whatever range you were shooting, going back, you have a hard 0 stop. At the 0 you have set, pushing your turret back down and you're back to 0 where you have started. Something else that top turret cap has this turn indicator. So when you make a full rotation like this, I don't know if you can see it very well on camera, that little red dot sticks out. Make another adjustment to the second revolution and you see now also a white line appears, and so you can easily find out at which rotation elevation you are. Going back to 0, very easy with that 0 stop, back to 0, pushing it down, locking it in. So that's that turret cap. Now if you remember, you also get the simplified version of this turret cap. It doesn't have a 0 stop inside, nor the elevation indicator. So this is a simplified version. Always very nice to see Vector Optics included this for some users that might find this interesting or more useful than the one already installed. Then on the left side of the scope you can find yourself the parallax wheel going from 10 yards all the way to infinity. 10 yards, perfect use for air gunners as me. So the scope is very suitable for air guns. The parallax wheel on the side. And on the outside of the parallax wheel you have your reticle illumination, and the reticle illumination has 6 different brightness levels, as you can see 6, and every one time before and one time behind is an offsetting, and rotating it to your desired number of course will put it on and off. Very easy, so this way you don't have to crank every time all the way to the full rotation if you want the full brightness or not. Just one click on and off, very easy. Underneath the Vector Optics logo you see here is the battery housing. Now Vector Optics doesn't include a battery. This might be due to regulations in shipping that you're not allowed to put any lithium batteries inside the packaging or something like this, shipping it around the world. That's the reason, maybe the reason why they don't include it. Right, the Vector Optics Continental 3x18x50, very beautiful scope. And so guys, there you have it, the unboxing and overview of the Vector Optics Continental 3x18x50 first focal plane scope. Very beautiful, very robust, very quality product by Vector Optics. Very tactical looking as well, with those big turrets, and therefore I went ahead and mounted it to my most tactical airgun I think I have. That's my FX Dreamline in the Sabre tactical chassis, complementing each other very well, I find. Now, this one is with the sunshade, as you can see at the front, making it look a little bit longer. I added some flip-up caps just to protect those lenses a little bit. Really cool. Now I wanted to include some of those pictures or video of the illuminated reticle, but my camera doesn't seem to really like focusing on that reticle while it's illuminated, and therefore I didn't include it into the video. It was just focusing on that little dot in the middle and not really showing the whole tree lighting up, which is pretty cool, of course. I also wanted to include some image quality pictures, but the wind today outside is moving the trees so much you can't really see any detail. But as a matter of fact, I'm planning a very interesting video, and I think I'm gonna call it Airguns versus Bulletproof Glass, which is pretty cool. I will have a bunch of guns in that video, a bunch of different scope, a bunch of different scope cameras, and so you will see all the different image qualities right there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, so you don't miss out on that video that I'm planning. I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.